where's the body? I say, ask the hairdresser. If there's ever someone in question, whether they did it or not, just ask the hairdresser. And so we're going to start with my first guest. He is very close to my heart. We started off as strangers, and he contacted me about taking out his dreads. And it was an extremely lengthy process and had a lot of patience, but that meant we spent a lot of time together and got to know each other really well. Now he's one of my closest friends. I thought he would make a great guest to kind of kick this off. So why don't we welcome Shoji.
Hi. Always good to see you.
So we're going to get you ready for Friday.
Nice. I'm excited because Mike really offered me this photo shoot, and he was like, you know what, Shogi? I'm going to give you a free shoot this time. So pick a date and yeah.
And he's the one that did your photos before, right?
Yeah, he always does my headshots, especially my acting headshots. I really trust him for the work. Do you know people have been really liking the color?
Yeah.
I still tell them that we're not done yet, but oh my God, people love the hair.
Well, we're pretty close to done.
Did I tell you about Orlando though? Like I just got back on Wednesday. Oh my God, I loved every bit of it. I have a friend.
Yeah.
Who has a condo down there.
Yeah, you didn't really tell me why you went to Orlando.
Well,
I knew you were going, but I didn't know who you were visiting or what you were doing down there.
Right. I really needed this vacation.
Yeah.
I was so stressed out. I must say that since last summer, I haven't been myself, and I felt like I needed to just get away. Initially, I wanted to go to Minneapolis for like 4 days and then travel somewhere else. Mm-hmm. But then when my friend offered, I was like, yeah. I mean, he was paying for everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he offered really. He's such a nice person. And he was like, you know what, Shogi, just come with me, have fun, and see where it goes. And I loved it. We visited his brother. Mm-hmm. And also saw some other friends from Mississippi, which was great. Talking to them, I like talking to people because I get to like learn stories and listen to what they've gone through.
Yeah.
But I learned so much.
Did you meet any strange people?
Strange. Oh my God. So we're waiting for the rental car, right? I have the luggage with me, and there's a long line, and he has to like sign papers and stuff. And this lady, oh, what an amazing moment. Yeah, she's like, hello, young man, with an accent. And I was like, hi. And she's like, my name is Cheryl, and I'm from Mississippi, and I'm just waiting for my husband to, get the car. But yeah, so Cheryl starts telling me about her life, her child. She had this 5-year-old with her. I think that's her daughter. And she looked like she was like 60 or something. Mm-hmm. But she was a nice lady. I really liked her. And we started talking about the crime. But then she started praising the president, Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. And she was like, well, you come from Chicago. You know how crazy it is. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah.
Right, yeah.
And I found myself just saying,
Yeah.
Really?
So, I mean, like, especially when you don't agree with what people are saying, like, how do you deal with that? Like, because, like, I find I just unfollow people on Facebook if I can't take whatever it is, whether it's presidents or just opinions about whatever. If anything negative, I'll just kind of unfollow them. How do you deal with it?
Okay, there's something I learned through life. You have to learn to listen to people. Mm-hmm. Because no matter how different someone's opinion or thoughts are, it's important to listen to them because they see the world in a different perspective. And sometimes it does get frustrating when you're trying to say a sensible fact and someone doesn't get it. It's always good for you to just see people through God's eyes, how God will look at you.
Before. I love
right? That. Remember?
It's beautiful.
Yeah, and
it gives you the compassion, the empathy, and the level of understanding where if you see this person not either crossing over to agreeing with you, but you see this person also realizing that maybe this person is right, or you kind of see the surprise in them that, wait,
Well, and they're not making you. I think a lot of people are always almost looking to get a response. Some people, especially people into politics, like they want you to get mad. They want to argue, and they want to.
exactly.
You know, they don't expect people to try to understand. You know what I mean? They're not used to empathy. They're used to,
Right.
you know, people coming back with confrontation, I think.
I think what really has helped me through life, it's because I grew up as a Baha'i, and the principles of the faith really helped me grow and develop into the person that I am today. And it's really amazing when someone starts arguing with you, they're not ready to listen to you. So there are two things you have to do. If you choose to challenge them, then know for a fact that you're not going to make sense at all to them. So
Yeah, because they'll shut down as soon as you start to.
yeah, and a lot of people think
Disagree.
walking away is being a coward, but sometimes walking away just gives you the peace and allows your world
Absolutely.
to continue existing. And I think that has helped me avoid many situations. Mind you, I'm not saying that I've always been this perfect, because there are times where I've wanted to say something and I'm like, you better listen to me, and someone walks over, I'm like, why are you walking away? I think every challenge, every situation I found myself in has humbled me. I've learned so much from people and situations like that. But, you know, vacation was great, and I think I missed home. I was like, let me go away somewhere warmer, but I was like, oh, I want to go back to Chicago.
Yeah,
There's
I
something
always
about
say-
Chicago.
Every time I've ever gone, even if it, you know, is someplace really like, I always was really happy to come home.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and actually going places and traveling is like actually helped me realize that Chicago is probably my favorite city. There, not just because I'm from here, but
Isn't that interesting though? For example, like when I moved here, I started getting used to it, the different seasons, and I loved every bit of
yeah, I
it.
do love, from a fashion standpoint, girl, please.
Right?
You know, like once you get bored with just, I get excited when it's time to bust out the you know, the winter coats and sweaters and boots and stuff, and then like,
I think I look sexy in boots. I think the guys
I
would
think
just
you
come
look
to me
sexy in
bawling, like, I just want him.
yes,
But yeah, I
everyone looks sexy in boots.
right? I love traveling though. I must say, if I talk to somebody here in Chicago right now, if I listen to their problems, they're completely different from the people that I met from these small towns.
Well, yeah.
And what
Or
life
just Americans
is.
in general, I would imagine.
Oh,
Whether it's from Chicago or
don't get me
Texas.
started. America is very unique. That I've met people from different states and different cities, and I'm going to start writing like the kind of food that I'll be eating. I usually try to meet friends like once or twice a week. And these are the people that I try to create relationships with, because you get to go to a restaurant and you get to experience different cuisines. And I think Chicago offers that, and that's why I love it.
Yeah, and I think the whole thing with food and different styles, the world is getting smaller. So with, you know, the internet and social media and stuff, like
Yeah.
the world's changed quite a bit.
A few weeks ago, someone from Slow Food was like, "Hey, Shogi, we really like your support. We would like to feature you." And
From where?
Basically, you know, fast food, like fries, burgers, and all that stuff. But Slow Food, they focus on traditional methods of cooking and authentic cuisines that, you know, are still traditional. And she
okay.
reached out to me and she was like, "We would like to do something with you." And I was like, what should I make? What should I make? And I thought of this dish that my grandma used to make, plantain. She would either fry the plantain or steam the plantains. And what I developed over time was mixed plantain with coconut milk. So I ended up making plantain with coconut milk, and I ended up having like eggplants as my side, A glass of wine, of course.
Of course.
A lady needs a glass of wine.
Of course.
Yeah. And I'm so glad to see you. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
Oh, I remember that night you took out the dread, like the last dread lock
Oh
you
my
had.
God.
I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, and didn't that last dread take like it seemed like it took forever
Yeah.
because it was the last one.
And showing up at work with my hair looking like like someone would.
Yeah.
It was so funny. Everyone was like, are you okay? What's wrong with your hair? I'm like, I'm still working on it. I think
Yeah.
I've been saying that for like a month now.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure once we have the headshots, people are going to love it.
Yeah. Well, I'm just glad that we you still have hair.
Yes.
Because, if you follow what most people will say, you would have just had to shave it off. And as we know, that's not the case. You just have to have the willingness and the patience to do it.
Some people are just lazy.
Some people don't have the patience to do that kind of thing. Like, I like little, I crochet. I'm kind of a, hands-on, like, that fits my personality. I think some people would just go nuts.
Yeah.
And that's when you end up tearing the hair out and trying to rush it.
I mean, I've seen your art and stuff, and I really like it. And I think reaching out to you was very important for me because remember, I told you what hair means to me. It's so sacred.
Yeah.
It's something that I respect, and each process that I go through has to be respected by the person doing it.
Right.
And meeting you, it's
Yeah.
been awesome just to have this 3 creative minds in the same room and just talking about life. It's been
Speaking of
amazing.
which, I'm just going to hit play on my thing here. Let's play a little O3.
Okay. Yeah.
Just for,
I love
have a
them.
little background.
Oh, by the way, have you had a chance to watch the show yet?
I've seen the, kind of teasers,
Yeah.
like the clips and stuff, but I haven't actually been able to watch an episode.
Channel 25 every Thursday at 11 p.m.
Yeah, but what if because see, we don't have cable.
You know-
So, where would I find it?
That's what we're hoping for. So we have about 2 more months of it running only in Chicago, and hopefully once
On that
people-
one channel, though.
on that one channel. But
Okay.
season 2 might be a national show, so you'll be able to stream it maybe on Netflix or something. So that's something that we're really working on right now. And the producer as well, she's like amazing, and she's talking to different people every single day. She goes to sleep like at 4 in the morning.
Trying
and
to promote.
Right,
the
and
show.
wakes up at 7.
So
I'm
wait,
like-
is that Mei Ling or is that?
Yeah, that's Mei Ling.
Mei Ling.
Mei Ling Jin. She's also one of the main actresses.
Right. Yeah.
And-
I don't think I've actually met Mei Ling, but I know of her and her work.
Oh, she's an amazing human being. And I think she and I have quite a similar story. Moving to America, trying to make that
Yes.
dream. I think some of us still have that perception that America is the land and we're going to achieve, our dreams. If you're focused and you keep on doing it, I mean, I've been here for 2 years and I have acted as a background actor.
Was that me?
A background actor? You never mentioned the background acting part.
Oh, right. You're a
That
big
kills
star.
it. Yeah, I'm
Big
a big
star.
star. But yeah, I did some of that, and then I started getting speaking roles here and there. But this so far has been one of my proudest moments because it's a very diverse cast.
I know that I noticed, and I
one-
love that. Like
one
all
of the
ages,
actresses-
all.
Yeah, one of the actresses is from, she's Cantonese, China of course, but Mei Ling as well, she's from China, but she's American. And we have Ivy, me, who doesn't even fit, I don't know where I belong in the show. Because I've tried to audition for stuff here in Chicago, and the only other definition of black person is African American.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hi, I am from Africa, yes. I've only been in America for 5 months. What does that make me?
Yeah.
And I never get the part, but this show really has been interesting. But I'm hoping to just get more work, from this or whatever. There's one thing that I feel that a lot of people need to admit is that we're all immigrants, no matter where you come
We
from.
all have roots
Somewhere. And one thing though that was a
Sometimes
big
several
mistake,
roots.
yeah, was making in every chat that people have, it's like they try to make white the default race.
Yes.
And then this creates a lot of problems even within the same community. But if I come from North Ireland, I want to be proud of where I come from.
And
that doesn't stop me from being American because I was born here. That makes me American. Or if I move here and I get to become an American through, registration and all that, I become an American. I'm proud of this country. I'm part of this country. And Obama, yes, his father was from Kenya.
right.
But
So that's what he was saying. Yeah.
his mom was American. She was American.
Right.
And that makes him American, and that's what's in the Constitution.
Well, and he was
It
born
doesn't-
here.
And he was also born here, so.
So that's like ancestors
Exactly.
are from. And I mean, I don't go around referring to Ireland as my homeland,
Mm.
but I can relate to that because many of my ancestors were from there, and
I think we have learned how to use words, we've learned how to use numbers, but we don't have the emotional intelligence to communicate with each other. And instead of people trying to prove each other wrong, they should try to help each other and build each other up. I would say this, since the world started forming into societies, into kingdoms, into governments, into countries, it's the time where people need to start communicating with love, need to understand, and the fact that we're on this planet, we share a common, factor that can help us. I mean, I don't have to hoard everything to be happy while someone else is sleeping hungry. I want to be able to have that other person. Once you have to help people, well, they're going to be rich as you. No, we're all different. We all have different talents. We all have different capacities.
and helping
It's-
people doesn't always mean with dollar signs.
Exactly. Sometimes it's just talking to someone. There was this incident one day, I was on the train and this older gentleman just said, "Hey, can I talk to you?" And he was very scared. I was like, "No, sure." And he was like, "I have never seen someone sit like you."
Sit like you.
I was like,
Interesting.
"What do you mean?" And he's like, "You have this grace when you sit down, and I just watched you as you walked in and you sat. And I just had to ask you a question. Where are you from?" And I was like, "Oh,
That's cool.
well, I'm from East Africa. I moved here." I told him the whole story, the whole spiel. I gave him all that. Now I'm more myself, and I'm very comfortable with my body. And I've always felt like this is home for me. I grew up learning about movies in Hollywood, So one thing I must say though, a big misconception is that like a lot of people from Africa don't speak English fluently.
Yeah.
However, we do have institutions that are very good institutions, and I went to a very good school.
Not just
but-
though your English though. I mean the accent.
The accent, so
It's really, you don't have much of one.
I think, yeah, and that is so funny because I created this. I mean, my family was very poor when I was growing up. And I didn't get a chance to go to school as other kids would go, like what age do kids go to school here?
Like preschool is like 3, but
3?
kindergarten's 5.
5. So I went to school pretty late, and when I would see people go to school, like my fellow age mates and stuff like that, I was like, I need to learn something. And my mom, she knew I loved movies, so she brought magazines at home, movie magazines, and she was like, "Why don't you read this?" I must say, there are very few people who talk like me, and this accent was something that was formed through all those lessons that I've learned through life. My father was pretty fluent in English and French.
And your French isn't too bad either.
Oh, it's not bad, but when I speak to a
real-
French person,
yeah,
they're gonna
they're
say,
like, "Wow."
"Where are you from?" They will get the tonation of the words and
Oh, yeah.
everything, but I sound like an American trying to speak "allez-vous" and all that stuff when Americans
yeah.
try to speak French. Yeah, it's so funny. I think that's where I got it from, and I just
So just
wanted
watching movies and stuff?
watching movies, reading, perfecting every word that I say. I think I'm doing okay.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
I had a friend that was from New Zealand and South America or South Africa, and so his accent was kind of like a combination of the two. That was very.
Do you have his number?
And I was just kind of impressed when I first met you. Like, wow, like how did you?
I think something beautiful happened because intermarriages between Europeans and Africans, between Arabs and Africans, between Africans themselves and different tribes and different nationalities within the continent, it created this beautiful tonation towards, like, even here in America you have people from the South who have a different accent than people from the North. To me, that has been one of the things that perplexes me about humanity. Trust me, you're gonna see this. I'll be looking at people while they're talking and I'm just staring at them because I love how they talk and the accent, the
accents
pronunciation of the words.
I know, me too.
I think that's beautiful. There's a story behind it. Even the word bloody hell, which I like saying. Or sometimes, instead of cursing in English, I prefer cursing in French.
If you go to France and are you know, they know right away you're Canadian because it's just the different dialects.
Exactly. Oh. And for example, I come from Republic of Congo. The French that we speak is fluent. It's, well, it depends with where you're coming from. Also, your social status defines how clear your French is. And
Right, yeah, you were kind of telling me that. That I thought was really interesting.
yeah, it's kind of like English with me, for example, how I speak. If I say I'm from Africa, a lot of Africans will say he's either from a wealthy family or is you get to go to a good school and all that stuff.
And you could tell by the way you speak.
Exactly. And but you get to meet other people who have gone to, you know, just regular schools or public school, and they have a complete different approach to speaking and using words. So it's interesting, and that's the same thing in French. And
I think it's even the same with English. You can tell when someone hasn't
well,
had the proper.
I think in America it's quite informal compared to English spoken in the United Kingdom. And
Yeah, that's true.
it kind of makes it relaxed so people can get away with a lot of things. You know, when you say something here, you even create words like brunch, you know, and now it's added in the dictionary. But in England, you have to be respectful and be like, Your Majesty and all that stuff. I had to learn growing up when my father started doing well in business. I had to learn how to comport myself and how to walk and how to talk and how to look at people and smile. Ugh.
Yeah, like you were telling me that how you would go to certain places and people would be bowing, and you were like, you didn't know how, you know, you were just like, what's happening?
Yeah, so this incident happened in Rwanda. And nobody knew, like, I had just moved there. I had been there for about a month. And this three men, I was working at a restaurant. And this three men, one of them is like, Your face. I was like, What about it?
Yeah.
And he's like, Your face is so familiar. What's your name? And I said, My name is Shogi. And then he just started bowing. He's like, Oh, my prince. I'm like, No, I'm not a prince. I'm just a regular person.
Yeah.
I'm about to serve you. I'm not a prince. And he's like, No. The reason why I say this is because I know your father. Your father used to live here in Congo. He was an amazing man. He really loved people. I was like, how does that make me a prince? You know, in my head, this is what I'm thinking about. But just having that reaction because of the respect.
Would you say that because? Oh, okay. I was gonna say because of the respect. Is that because your father had money, or was it because he?
No, with the money part, you know, it was just in Africa, anybody who has affluence.
Like politically, you mean, and
not necessarily.
business?
Just someone that is respected within the community. Whether you have money or you are just respected with how you run your family or just who you are. a lot of people will give you the salute or bow, and it's not like an extreme bow where it's but they just bow to show
Like
the
just
respect.
a shine. Okay.
Yeah, a sign of respect.
I
Yeah.
gotcha.
But one thing that I really loved about my family, though, was that we grew up poor, and then we had money in our life. But having money in my family really changed a lot in me in terms of learning how to communicate with people, learning how to handle money, because a lot of people don't know how to do it. Respect the king, respect the servant. I think that's one of my main philosophies in life. I feel like I'm talking too much. I'm sorry.
No, that's what we do. Are you kidding me?
Like what we talked about, the music, art, and we were just talking about politics and how the world should transform and all that. A few days later, I got into like a discussion with someone, and it kind of got in, it helped me from what we talked about. It helped me give him a much simpler perspective, because when we were talking, we had like all these complex things to go through. But then this was simplified. I was like, grab an Uber. you know?
Yeah.
So that's how easy it was. But I feel like our talks just lead to something great. I usually go home and just write down things that we talk about.
Yeah.
And it really helps me focus and learn also how to think American.
Well, I liked, we had our little talks and our time together and everything. I always thought of Africa as this really scary place. I mean, I'm sure it is, things that you read and gorillas in the mist, like that's like my, my only reference, and so like when you're telling me some of these stories about like your childhood and that the silly story about your school and the dress code and your hair, and cutting hair, and it was
this is something, and a lot of Africans know this for sure. Africa's story has never been told fully. The only parts of Africa being told are either the safaris, which don't happen in every country. People still think Africa is a country, it's a continent. And life happens there. There's cities, the wealthy people. Life is beautiful. You have access to clean air and organic food that's inexpensive.
Right.
Whereas compared to here, to eat healthy, you have to spend more. I
know, it's crazy.
Every part of this world has a part of, a story of it that's scary. Like America, for example, when I moved here, I told that I was moving to America. They told me, but you're black. You know what they do to black people in America? I was like, no, They're like, no, the racist people. I was like, no, listen.
When I was in Ireland, people would, not like the bigger towns that everyone's heard of, like Cork or Dublin, all that stuff, but I'm talking these little tiny towns that are maybe like a mile long. They don't have computers and social media. They would ask me things like, oh, you're from Chicago. Oh, aside from Michael Jordan, you'd get all that. Do you know Michael Jordan? You'd be like, no. But they would ask if we had palm trees. And I was like, palm trees? Like, we're in the middle of the country. Like, our winters, like, my dad, will send me a text. Do you know it's colder today than it is on Mars? And I'm like, thanks for sharing, Dad.
Thank you.
It's good to know.
I think that's why I love where we're going with this, because even the people who traveled and wrote stories about Africa, they didn't know much about the continent, so they just wrote about perception.
Yeah, it's
like Columbus. People finding out the true story of this guy. He was just lost. Yeah. And then, people were finding out the real story. There was no real idea of where he was going, and like, this is American, this is where I'm going, and this is what I'm going to call it.
No, not at all.
But with technology and hoping that people in small towns and small villages will have access to it in the next few years, they get to see what's happening here. When the elections happen here, someone from a very small town messaged me on Facebook that I met and was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm fine." My aunt in Belgium, she's not even in Brussels, but she's in a small town in Belgium. And that's where her home is. And she was like, "Shogi, I know you're in Chicago because I just saw this huge march happening. Women are marching and all that." I was like, wow, this is happening, you know?
Although that was happening all over the world.
It was, but you know, this is something that she got to see what is happening in Chicago. Something that didn't happen back then, where someone will ask you, "Did you guys really march, or were they just making pictures of 5 people?" But yeah, technology is really helping us learn about other places, learn about how people live in those cultures that we have heard of. And for example, America. In Africa, it's considered the world of the, people here are wealthy. Everybody here has money. But
everybody thinks that, yeah.
They get to see veterans sleeping on the streets. They get to see homeless people, people who need medical attention, who are suffering from ailments and all that. They're like, wow, this happens in America as well. So people get to learn this. For example, Africa's story was never written down.
So there's no history books, basically.
Well, there some
maybe now, but
there's some from
not
Timbuktu.
as it was happening.
There's some from Timbuktu, but people learned about other parts of the world through stories. Like someone who escaped from a capture would come back and say, "Wow, there are people living like this." So people are finding out these things, and we have technology, and yeah.
I wish we had more time to hang out.
Of course. I love the fact that I learn everything from scratch every time we talk. I start from scratch every time we talk. I'm like, oh, I just learned something new today.
Yeah. Thanks everybody that tuned in. And there'll be more episodes, and we're gonna keep on having a blast while we do it. And we'll see you shortly. No bark, Daphne.